It is Wednesday. It is BRAP. It is for the love of video games. We are early. Well, this is a special edition, 7 p.m. edition of BRAP because your buddy BRAP has to wake up early. I have to wake up at like 5 in the morning. Actually, a little bit before that because I have a conference call with the company that I work for. We have offices in the Philippines, so they're 12 hours ahead of us. So I have to hop on this call. And it's scheduled at 5 in the morning. So actually, I'm technically going to be up a little bit earlier before 5. Probably like 4:45, just so I can like splash some cold water in my face and wake up. But on that note, hopefully some of the BRAP guys will make it. I'm not sure. I know Eric Jackson can't make it. Big shout out to EJ. I'm not sure if Slow-Mo or Gaming Forte or B Money will be able to make it. But hopefully if they do, bet that if they can, that's great. If they cannot, we will miss them. But we do have a returning guest. We have I will maybe refer to him as the BRAP PlayStation retail rep. We have Chrono. What's up, man?
Hey. Thank you for having me, man.
No,
and yeah,
man.
a conference call with the Philippines and my people. So
Yeah, you guys are 12 hours ahead of us. So, I got it. Yeah, it's just one of those things, man, where I just gotta do it. I gotta do it. It doesn't happen a lot, but it's just one of those rare instances where I have to do it 5 o'clock, in the morning. So it is what it is.
do some karaoke. You'll be fine. You'll capture that group. They'll love you for it. So
Yeah. So, but no, Chrono, it's great to have you back on, man. Certainly appreciate it. I want to give a big shout out to everyone in the live chat. Please, if you haven't done so already, drop the link in, or I'm trying to drop the link. I can't do it right now. Because I don't know, something's going on my computer, so I can't copy and paste for whatever reason. Anyhow, so Chrono, I don't remember. Do we have you on before? Do we have you on before E3? I don't remember, man.
it was we never. I don't think we ever got a chance to even talk about E3 at all. It was well before. Yeah, it had been a minute since I'd visited. So,
okay, so it's been a couple months then, man.
Yeah, it has been.
Oh my goodness. All right, cool. All right, well, we got a lot to talk about then. So, yeah, everyone in the live chat. By the way, I did retweet the link, or no, I'm sorry, I didn't retweet the link. I dropped the link in the comment section. So if you would be so kind to retweet the link, appreciate it. So, because we normally don't go live at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so Chrono, I want to talk to you about. We probably should have had you on the show a couple weeks ago when the whole Ghost of Tsushima director's cut came out, the pricing thing came out. I know you saw Forte at his store, and he kind of gave you a little bit of a hard time, about the pricing. But you did have you had some thoughts about the pricing prior. You had some thoughts about the pricing prior to us going live, right?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I've been thinking about it. I get it completely. I understand completely the desire for essentially the same game, at least at its core. Having to pay for it, and it doesn't sit well with some people. I get that completely. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm old school. I'm OG. I've been gaming since back in the, officially the Atari days, but my first system was a Nintendo. So, whenever we got these console, next generation consoles, I'm used to the idea of paying for, the version for the current, for the next gen system. Like, I remember the transition between PS2 to PS3. There were two different versions of Spider-Man just because, they were completely different systems. So the idea of having to pay for another version is something that I don't know, for good or bad, I accept. And believe me, we probably shouldn't accept it, as a concept. But I don't know. For me, especially when it comes to Ghost of Tsushima, if it were just a upgrade to 4K 60 and that was it, and it was just the vanilla version of Ghost of Tsushima, I completely agree. 100% it should be free. But, for me, all of the extra content that they're talking about that's going to be on the PS4 version, I mean, I'm sorry, the PS5 version, I don't know. For me, it seems worth it. And, especially if it is a meaty expansion, similar to the way that Naughty Dog did Lost Legacy, and how and the expansion for The Last of Us. I mean, I'm perfectly okay with spending that kind of money, the extra $30 for, more time on that island. So
Yeah, and it's interesting. You mentioned Forte was at your work, your job, and this is where I would disagree with him. I would understand. I would agree more if it was a situation where Ghost of Tsushima was designed for the PlayStation 5, right?
yeah.
Designed only for the PlayStation 5. And then they say we're going to charge you $70, but we're going to charge you additional 10 so you get the haptic feedback.
Yeah.
Like then I could probably I don't know, agree, I guess, in that regard with some of the pushback I've been seeing. Now, if it's not for you, you don't want to spend the money, I get it, it's fine. Value's in the eye of the beholder, but I don't think this is some egregious thing where it's anti-consumer. I've seen people use that word around, anti-consumer. I don't agree with that. I mean, this isn't as, I would say, as egregious as EA, which we'll talk about later on, increasing the price of basically coming out with a special edition that you'd have to buy. If you buy it on the PlayStation 4, would give you the upgrade to go PlayStation 5, and not giving you any other option but to do that. And I think that game costs you about $100. We'll get to that later on. But I don't think it's egregious. I think it would be if this game was not designed specifically for the PlayStation 5 in mind, and then Sony came behind and said, "Oh, by the way, you want haptic feedback?" Because I think that's a lot of the hubla that people are upset about, is that, well, they're charging you for next generation features, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I think I would probably buy that more if or agree with that more if it was a situation again where Sony designed the game specifically for PlayStation 5 and said, "Oh, by the way, you want these features like haptic feedback, rumble controls, you're gonna pay for it, extra $10." Then I'd be like, "Wait a minute, right?"
Yeah, and you're right. There's just, again, if it were just like a 4K 60 upgrade, I get that.
And it's not that.
Yeah, it's not. There's so much more to it. Particularly when we're talking about Ghost of Tsushima. For me, it's weird that one of the things I'm actually really excited for is the Japanese language
Lip syncing.
Lip syncing.
Yeah.
That for me, that is, I've been holding off replaying the game, but now I want to go back and play it in Kurosawa mode. And now that that's lip sync, I don't know. I think I'm gonna enjoy the shit out of it. So, but and the same thing is happening with Death Stranding. With their director's cut, or whatever Kojima wants to call it internally for himself. But if it were just a visual upgrade, that's one thing. But you are getting so much more, and I really think that it's foolish of us to ask the developers not to get paid for the work that they're doing. That it's a meaty update. Let's pay these guys and give them the money that they're due.
Yeah.
And the reality is too, and this goes to the EA situation. As gamers, we need to vote with our wallets. We're seeing a lot of people push back and complain. Well, then prove it. Don't buy it. Tell the developers, tell the publishers that we won't stand for it. And, it either is going to mean the companies will change their tune, or it means that we won't get those kinds of games anymore. It depends on, that's the battle that we're choosing. So, and I think as gamers, we need to get out of our habits and actually put our money where their mouth is, really.
Yeah, and I wouldn't necessarily disagree with someone who said, you know what, that's not for me. I'm not paying the extra $10. You know, that's fine. I mean, I think, you know, every consumer has the right to just decide what's in their best interest, right? But I don't think it's as egregious as people are making it out to be. You know, and you know, and yeah, to your point, Chrono, I think there's something to be said for developers to be compensated for the work that they do, because, you know, I spoke to a developer about this, and he's like, you know, yeah, there's QA work that goes into implementing these feature sets, you know, the controller, stuff like that. Those are hardware type features that have to be tested. That takes time, resources, and money to implement those things. So, you know, but what's interesting with Ghost of Tsushima, though, is that apparently it sounds like the and I forget the name of the island that's part of the new DLC. Is it Ikai? Did I pronounce that correct? Is that correct?
I think it's Iki. I think
Iki? Something like that.
Yeah.
Akai's like a fruit or something, or a berry.
It's like, you know, you know, I'm Filipino. We eat with a fork, so, you know, it's just, yeah, I don't know what's going on with Japan. So
so it's like 15 to 20 hours of content, additional content, on top of everything else that you have, especially like Ghost of Tsushima Legends, which I think's a really good multiplayer DLC, you know, co-op DLC. I mean, and that was free. You know, remember they that kind of came out of left field, like no one really knew about it.
Yeah, that surprised everyone about it.
Yeah. And then Sucker Punch was like, oh, by the way, we got this free DLC for you. It's coming out. And I thought that was really cool. So, but this game's got it's got a shit ton of content now. I mean, like, this game's got a lot of value built into it now. And I was thinking about this, Chrono, like, even if you go back and you haven't played the game and you just got a PlayStation 5, you know, if you spend $70 on this game, I think it's well worth the $70, in my opinion.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know that one of the arguments or complaints is about, you know, well, I just spent, you know, I bought it when it came out. I paid the full price, and now everyone is, you know, getting this new content at a cheaper price. You know what? And I know that's one of the arguments that a lot of people put forth. And it's just like, you know, what about for the people that have been there since day one? And it's just like that is the price we pay for being early adopters. You know, we know, I mean, it is historic. We know every time that a game that does really well, there'll be a game of the year, director's cut, or another version that contains all that extra content that's come out since. And we, you know, it's either we don't buy on day one, or we wait for the eventual, you know, complete edition. I mean, that's as simple as that is.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I want to give a big shout out to good buddy here, BitCloud Gaming, with the $5 super chat. Thank you for that, Bit. Says, hit that like button. Yes, hit that like button, everyone. And retweet the link as well. Yeah, you know, again, I think again, if this is your first time buying the game, $70 is well worth the price of admission, because you're getting a lot of content. Like, there's a lot there. There's a lot, like a lot.
I mean,
like,
even before the expanded island, the game itself is just, you know, a great story, long, meaty story, you know, and bonus multiplayer content. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, so so that was the update with Ghost of Tsushima. But I got to ask you, Crota, because we're talking about PlayStation right now, and you are a retail PlayStation representative. When are we going to get PlayStation 5 back on shelves? Like, this is, and by the way, like, I was at my local GameStop game, and the guy was like a little salty. The guy working there, he's like, I'm like, so do you guys have any you know, Series X, PlayStation 5s? Sony's doing a terrible job, you know, restocking. Xbox is killing them. I'm like, cool, you know. It was just funny. It was funny to hear this GameStop employee say this to me, but, you know, I don't care. I'm like, whatever. But it was just funny, like, to hear his frustration, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, is it because this thing is selling like hotcakes, and
It is.
the one thing, it's interesting, like everybody, and I'm so glad you're on the show because I really, when I thought about some of the commentary about Sony State of Play last Thursday, which look, it wasn't for me, it wasn't like there's like there's one game, Fist, is it Fist or
Yes.
something?
Yeah. Fist.
That I was like, okay, that's cool. I don't like that name. I think it's a terrible name for reasons I can't mention here. Reasons I can't mention here on the podcast, but
not at 7 p.m. Maybe a little later if their show
exactly.
was on later
Yes,
tonight.
maybe this is like regular scheduled BRAP at 9 p.m. At the 10 o'clock hour, I could probably tell you why I don't like the name per se. But I gotta be honest with you, man. Like, I thought it was cool seeing Deathloop. I think if there's a positive of that shows that that Sony's showing indies, and there was that there was a lot of concern going around that Sony wasn't going to be really supporting indies with the PlayStation 5 because some of the comments that Jim Ryan made and things like that, and we're seeing that that's not the case. I'm not necessarily surprised. I wouldn't be surprised that if we see them showcase more indies, especially I think for the first 2 years, because I think we're still, I think obviously the pandemic's impacted development, but I think that we're going to see a little bit more of that until they really start cranking out, more of those big budget titles. But some of the commentary about the State of Play was that it wasn't an answer to Microsoft's E3, and I thought my Xbox had a pretty good E3 showing. But in my mind, I'm like, they almost don't have to answer per se because look at where they are, right, Carno? I mean, like,
and this is me just speaking, and not me as with my PlayStation rep hat on. Just me as a fan of PlayStation stuff as a whole. Everyone keeps acting like we need to respond. We need to respond. At least PlayStation, I mean. But what for me? Why should we have to respond? For me, what I see Microsoft doing is not so much showing, they are finally responding. They are finally responding to everything that we've done. It's not a tit for tat. We've been ahead of the game. It's Microsoft playing catch up. There's no reason for us to try and respond to what Microsoft is doing because we're the ones still in the lead. So there's, us doing a smaller showcase to show off, titles that people probably would have missed completely if we were doing a big showcase. That is perfectly fine because you know what? We will go ahead when we're ready and we will control the message. And hell, PlayStation will just show a logo and we will blow up Twitter. It's just they have right now that kind of command of people's mindsets. And so again, it's not about us needing to respond. It's Microsoft that needs to respond.
Yeah.
And that's what they've been doing.
Yeah. And by the way, like, I don't think, just to kind of, because I know some people listening later on might say, oh, wait a minute, they're bashing Microsoft. This isn't a criticism of Microsoft, other than just an observation of where they've been and where they're coming from, and the fact that they are playing kind of catch up right now. That's not, and they're doing a great job, by the way. I
thought that their E3 showcase was really, really well done. It was a really strong showcase for them. Granted, for me, there weren't many games on there that are system sellers, at least not for me. But at the same time, it was probably one of the strongest shows that they've done in a long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I was really happy with that. So
yeah, but it's interesting. It's everything that that you've just mentioned here, Chrono, is that if you look at the PlayStation 5 and what it's doing, I mean, it's outselling the PlayStation 4, and we know where we know what happened with that console, right? and so with that being said, Chrono, I mean, when are we going to get PlayStation 5s back in the store? Because you can't find them anywhere.
No, anywhere. And that is, believe me, it is the biggest frustration The biggest question I have to field when I'm out there talking to stores and customers, the reality is we are building them as, everyone keeps saying that we keep dropping the ball. We're not. We are full steam ahead. All factories open. You give us the chips, we'll make the systems, we'll push them out. Um, Everything that we build, we send out. And it's just the demand is faster than what we can push out. It's as simple as that. Short of us somehow gaining more chips, short of us building more factories to accommodate those chips, we're going as fast as we can with that. So it's and I don't know. I have not heard of when that will get any better. The rumors of the new revision, have been floating around. Nothing has been confirmed, but even then, even if there is supposed to be a revision, I don't see that impacting what you're seeing at stores until near the end of the year. Um, it's just, yeah, you just have to have that quick trigger finger on your in your cart is I think at this point the best you can do. Aside from following people on Twitter that lets everyone know when things are
Hey,
going to be
by the way,
available.
Chrono, apparently you sound very cocky and braggy. I mean, people. I mean, tell
I
you, people. I mean, people take this console war shit way too, or this stuff too serious. Like, I mean, yeah, okay,
It's not braggy when the numbers speak for themselves. It's
yeah,
just,
like that's.
it's just
I
a
mean,
statement of fact.
that's a statement of
You know,
fact, and it's statement of fact. Look, it's yeah. Hey, there's that saying. It's not cocky if you can back it up, right?
yeah. And,
And it's not. Look, it's just like people look at this thing like if they're if something's not winning, then it's losing, and it's like but consumer products aren't necessarily like that. It's not like sports per se.
yeah.
It is. Look, it is just is what it is. It like any other consumer product. Coca-Cola outsells Pepsi. Does
Yeah.
that mean like Pepsi sucks? No. you know, it just is what it is. The numbers are what they are. I just said somebody in the live chat just said I was gonna say the numbers are what they are, and that's all there is to it. The numbers
Yeah.
are what they are. I mean, Sony PlayStation 5 is this current gen market leader right now, and in terms of consoles sold, it is what it is. Microsoft has the best, subscription based service right now, Netflix type subscription based service right now. So it's like it is,
Yeah.
right? And Sony doesn't. So I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, believe me, I wish that PlayStation would do something to match up with, or at least prop up PlayStation Now. It may have to take a whole brand new rebranding of the service, and a rethinking of the pricing structure. But it's, it needs to be in the same conversation like Xbox and Game Pass is whenever you talk about Xbox. We need to get to a point where we talk about PlayStation Now as as a de facto, or at least something that's more prominent than it is now. And I don't know if we're ready for that yet. So I think the current structure, the system structure that the business structure that PlayStation has is working. And I don't think we're really in that rush to completely, embrace PlayStation Now as as an alternative to Game Pass. So
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I certainly that's one area what I would like to see, Sony, maybe pivot a little bit. I know Jim Ryan's been on record saying that they have an answer. I don't necessarily think they have to necessarily do a carbon copy of what Game Pass is, but I think they should do something though, right?
yeah, definitely. At the
Like,
very least, again, just to make it more prominent so that people know that we have a service. We have no real marketing for it that people don't know. To this day, people still don't know that PlayStation Now exists and what it offers. So,
yeah, I mean, no,
um,
and actually, PlayStation Now just had a great I think like July release of games. Red Dead
Yeah,
Redemption 2 and God, I forget the other ones.
yeah.
Uh,
I forget to. I don't use PlayStation now because I have a PS4 3 still working, so I don't need to use those use the service. But no, you're right. There's a bunch of really good stuff added, and for the life of me, I'm being a really bad PlayStation rep and not
yeah,
remembering what they
Jim
are.
Ryan. If Jim Ryan's listening to this, you might get a call from him tomorrow. You know,
You were on a podcast and you didn't know our products. Oh shit.
yeah, it's gonna be like Chrono. How long have you been a PlayStation rep for? You don't know. You know. But yeah.
Oh,
So
there it is.
yeah.
Someone in
So
the chat put it up.
yeah. So I mean, Sony's. I mean, again, I would love for them to do date and date with first party. I don't think they're gonna do it because their first party games sell a shit ton, and they're just not gonna do it right now unless the market dictates otherwise. I don't see them doing that day and date. I mean, look, I've bought, I say this, the beauty about Game Pass for me is that it's allowed me to buy more games on my other consoles. So no, seriously, like I Game Pass has not only saved me money on the Xbox platform, but because I'm not buying as many games on the Xbox now, I'm like, cool, I can buy more games on, my Oculus Quest 2, PC,
Yeah.
PlayStation 5. I actually been buying a lot more games on PlayStation 5 recently.
Yeah. Too many sales. Oh God, it's been bad.
I just did the deed and bought Scarlet Nexus. I told myself I was going to do that until I beat Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, which is an amazing game, by the way. Like amazing. Like seriously, like one of the best looking games I've ever seen, and the best looking, current generation game to date. It is just phenomenal.
I think Insomniac, the guys at Insomniac are doing some sort of weird hoodoo voodoo because the stuff that they are making the PS5 do in terms of from a performance level, adding just updating the ray tracing, especially like on the 60 frame ray tracing, on Miles Morales and stuff like that. Those guys are wizards, and I don't know what they're doing that no one else is doing, but those guys are at Insomniac are amazing.
Yeah, they
So,
really are. I mean, they really are. And you look at like what they've done with like, Ratchet and Clank, and then they had, Spider-Man, and they just, to me, they are probably, I put them as people will probably disagree with me, but I have them up there as probably PlayStation's best first party studio. I know people are going to say Naughty Dog, but I think just because of the range of the types of games they put out, like Sunset Overdrive, now Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man. I mean,
yeah.
they're just super talented. And this game just looks so good, so good. And it's got great, it's got great gameplay. I don't think it does anything like crazy. I think in terms of pushing the Ratchet and Clank franchise.
No, definitely not in terms of gameplay. I mean,
No.
it's a very familiar style of gameplay.
Yeah. But the visually speaking, presentation and how alive the world is, it is I think not only a great game, but a technical showpiece of what's potentially what the potential of that console is. Especially with the talent that Sony's first party has. Like I just So, but so I guess you another question, Chrono.
Okay.
There's this rumor about a Sony PlayStation August event.
Have
you heard anything about an event?
No, there hasn't been any hints from our home office. However, with that being said, timing wise, it would make a lot of sense. We have yet to talk about what's on slate for the back end of the year, and August would make a perfect time to do so. Especially if there aren't any other major, presentations or anything happening around that time. It would make sense to be that it would be the perfect time to talk about whatever is happening for the back end. I mean, because we still have to, and they made mention of it on the PlayStation blog that more discussion on God of War, Horizon Forbidden West, and PlayStation VR 2 are going to be forthcoming. The question is how soon are we talking about in terms of forthcoming? And August seems like a really good time frame, because again, there really isn't anything happening around that time. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
it'd be really nice.
What's that?
It'd be really, really nice. I'm looking. I need some sort of like major announcement from anyone. I will take it from anyone. It's just like just give me something that I can latch onto that'll carry me to the end of the year.
Oh my
So
goodness. Well, I mean, if they're if they're targeting Horizon Forbidden West, right?
mhm.
To launch what, like this fall, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
then yeah, maybe in August, an August show would make sense then, because that's right before you get into that the fall holidays. So the God of War thing, I can't see them. I don't think they're going to show God of War. And I could be wrong. Maybe they do. I'd be surprised they did, considering that game is now, looking at a 2022 release.
Yeah, but we haven't. I mean, aside from the teaser, there hasn't been anything with God of War. I think now would at least would be a perfect time to show uh some sort of cinematic trailer. Not necessarily a gameplay trailer, although that'd be nice, but a cinematic trailer, just to get people hyped right before going into the holidays and into next year. I think that'd be a perfect time.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I mean, I just don't see that happening, but I could be wrong. There's some great points there, Chrono. But if this event does happen, like, do you think this needs to be like an E3 level type of event for them?
I although I like the shorter showcases where it can focus on one major title and then smaller titles scattered in. I would love an hour-long showcase. I would just love to just hear about anything. And aside from the obvious big tentpole games, just our third-party partnerships, our second-party partnerships. I would love an hour-long presentation. Who knows? It really depends on what our partners have up their sleeve, and if they're looking for a place to express that. But an hour long is what I want, and I'll call my people at the home office and say, hey guys, get to work on an hour-long presentation. I'll do that for you guys.
Yeah. I hear you. Maybe you should do that for them, man. But yeah, I would like kind of a big like E3 type presentation.
Yeah.
Only because obviously they're not E3 anymore. Obviously, I think the pandemic's impacted what they want to what they want to show, or how they do it. I really do think that if the pandemic didn't happen, you remember when PlayStation was saying that they wanted to do like other events.
Oh gosh, yeah. I was literally about to head off to PAX. I can't remember which one is it. That was it, like in February, right before the world shut down. And it was going to be one of the first opportunities for people to see next generation and everything like that. And I remember just how disappointed it was. It's just like, because yeah, our big thing, our big plan for last year, for all the shows, was get people at these shows to try out next generation and embrace next generation. And yeah, yeah, that completely changed because of the vid.
Yeah, no, and it did, man. And I think part of that too was so people could actually feel what it was like to use the haptic feedback controller, the dual sense.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like if you play, like when you play Astrobot on PS5, I mean, what a great game to show off the capabilities of the dual sense, right?
Definitely. And it's sort of like when I would do demos for VR. I mean, it's easy enough to talk about what it's like, but until you actually have the chance to have that controller in your hand and experience haptic feedback and adaptive triggers for the first time, or being in a VR world and, sniping the crap out of someone, you just words do not begin to properly express those experiences. So
Yeah, no, that's a great point, man. And it's, reading it and then living it were two different things for me,
yeah,
So,
definitely.
yeah. But I'm hoping that something. I hope this rumor pans out. I would like to hear something. I know that's been circulating, that July August time frame. We're in July now. I don't think it's going to happen this month, but I do think probably August is probably more realistic in that sense. And I think it needs to be a big showcase. Again, I'm going to stand on that hill, or that soapbox of that they need to have, something like E3, like something not like a 30-minute state of play.
Yeah, no, they need to go full hour, hour and a half, just to let the show breathe, and just give these games a chance to shine. Because even like these half-hour shows, sometimes I feel that like the 10 minutes that they allocate to the big title that they're highlighting doesn't feel like it's long enough sometimes. So I would love for a chance to get like an hour and a half show, just to give room for these games.
Yeah, no, I agree, and hopefully they give us an update on expandable storage. By the way,
Yes,
like with
oh
the
gosh,
SSD,
yeah.
like what have you heard? Like that, like that would be I would like, as somebody who has a PS5, I would appreciate that update, because having that option to have expandable storage is nice.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of a I think right now for PlayStation 5, that's kind of a, if there's a chink in the armor, there's probably that, where they
Yeah.
should have had something, by now. I mean, again, I this is just, again, I don't know what's going on internally. I don't know, if it's just a matter of, because I know they said the SSDs have to be up to speed, or whatever it is the situation is. But I would like an update. I think it's just something you should talk about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you, especially because they kept hinting that this summer that something would be said about it. We're approaching the tail end, and when we haven't heard anything about the plans, even just a hint of where we're at in terms of whitelisting these SSDs. It would be nice. But unfortunately, I think that's what happens when you have such a very specific SSD needs, that it's just very difficult to get an off the shelf product that matches up to our expectations. And then I heard also a recent rumor floating around that another issue aside from just performance is also the heating issue, that because of the speeds that they're running at, it's the SSDs are getting really, really hot. And again, it's just one of those things that they're just trying to making sure that for the consumer end, that we're not going to give you, or point you to a lemon and screw you over in terms of your gaming experience. So I think that,
Yeah.
I definitely think that it sucks that we're waiting this long, but at the same time, hopefully it means that'll be worth it. Who knows about pricing though? So that'll be another matter completely.
Yeah, I was gonna say pricing on those things is probably gonna be expensive. You look at the expandable storage options on the Xbox Series X. I mean, it's $200. That's pretty good. That's not cheap, right?
Oh no, not at all.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, I mean, and hopefully, if it's a heating issue, Sony needs to figure that out too. That they designed the console. They need to figure that out.
Yeah.
And if it's a design flaw at the PlayStation 5, they need to do something, because not having that expandable storage is going to be a turnoff for some people. And
Well,
I just think
especially if you start talking long term.
absolutely, yeah, long term, yeah, because I think generally speaking, like at this point, a console should have that option. And like I said, that's probably the one blemish on the PlayStation 5. They don't have that.
Yeah.
The Series X, you have expandable storage. You could use that right now. PlayStation 5, nothing. And then we haven't heard anything
Yeah.
for 7 months. So, yeah. But
it doesn't help too that games themselves are getting so big. Like 100 gig, and we're just talking about like updates too. Like 100 gig update and stuff. That's just, man, yeah, we need that SSD soon.
yeah, and those games are crazy big in terms of size. Like, so that's why I if I beat a game, I immediately delete it from my hard drive. I'm like, I'm done. I'm not going back to this.
Yeah, I mean, I've just been moving things back and forth between the external and whatnot, just as my stopgap. So
yeah, but yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens next month, man. Again, I'm hoping for like an E3 like showing, man, because I do think that's where Sony does need to maybe get ahead of the messaging a little bit, and kind of keep their consumer base a little more up to speed instead of just giving us little morsels of information. So.
I do wish that the home office would give people more warning than 3 days. Like the last few state of plays, they would drop information that the state of play was happening, on Tuesday for the state of play on Thursday. I'm just like, guys, please, give us more time. Let us know at least a week in advance so that I can tell customers and employees to expect it. Don't just do these surprise drops on us, please. But
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man.
That's the power of social media, man.
Hey, what's up, B Money?
You don't need this huge rollout, man. You tell somebody to be there tomorrow, guess what? They're gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah, that is true. But Chrono wants to get in front of his. He wants to go to his local, GameStops and Best Buys and let everyone know what's going on. But no, yeah. B, you're right. It's a great point, man. B, man, great to see you. I know we're doing kind of an early BRAP because I have to get up at like 4:45 in the morning. So
yeah.
I didn't want to miss the show because, man, there's a lot to talk about. And B, I got to ask you, did you see the new NBA 2K trailer?
I did. Come on now.
So look, man, I think we should probably wait to play NBA 2K, play that version. That's what I'm thinking, right?
Hey, whenever you're ready, man. I'll play any version you want to play.
Oh man, that's so funny. That's too funny, man. Hey, let me ask you something, B. We were just talking about the the August event for PlayStation. Do you think it needs to be like on a big E3 type level? If that happens in August?
I think as long as it's on the same level as what they did when they were rolling out the PS5, where we got a lot of content as far as like what was coming up next, for the next year or whatever. I think that'll be fine. I don't think it has to be as big as some of their legendary E3s or anything like that. But I think as long as they can kind of tell people what's going on within the next year, with some updates on the console, like you guys mentioned, the expandable storage, maybe some different features on the consoles, some updates in regards to that, then just kind of show us what the other studios have been working on. I think people will be satisfied with that, especially going into the holiday season. So, but I don't think it has to be like this over the top extravaganza or anything like that. But if you give people pretty much what they're looking for as far as updates on things that we've kind of been concerned about, and just show us some new stuff in regards to some of the bigger first parties, and I think people would be happy.
Yeah, that's a great point, B. I also think, man, that one of those updates I'd like is an update on the SSD storage, the expandable storage that we haven't heard a thing about, man. So I know that's
and I think that when they were talking about it, saying that that they needed the SSD to be just as fast as the one that's inside the PS5. I think that's probably their biggest issue. To have secondary SSD run that fast, basically tapped into your motherboard. The cooling on that would have to be pretty substantial, and I just don't know if what they have in place right now is gonna be able to do that. I think that's probably their biggest hurdle.
Yeah, that's actually what Chrono mentioned earlier too, which I think
'cause I'm
yeah.
looking at the slot. I was just wondering, like, if would you be able to put a SSD in there with a heat sink on it? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if that was part of the problem, then maybe throwing the additional heat sink on there might kind of alleviate it a little bit and make it a little bit more stable. But um, I'm not sure if you could actually do that, depending on the manufacturer of the SSD, because it's not something that Sony's making. It's not like a first party uh, peripheral. They're kind of letting all the other third party companies make stuff that's going to work for it. So it just depends on who the manufacturer is and if they can get a heat sink on there that'll actually be able to fit the PS5 as well.
Yeah, that's a good point, B. It's a great point, man. So
I'm sorry, real quick.
Go ahead,
I just for some unknown reason, like all I really want is the ability to put up themes again on my PlayStation 5 and have folders. Those are like the only two things I really really want. I know there's a whole bunch of other things that other gamers really want, but those are the two things I want: themes and folders. That's all I want.
Yeah, we definitely need folders back. I don't know why that's not a thing. Like, I have to scroll through all your games to find like the game that you want to play. Like, if it wasn't like one of your recent games, it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, or at least give us the ability to pin onto our main on the main strip. So
right.
Yeah, I agree with you on the custom themes. Like I wish that was kind of the thing that really kind of was a little frustrating for me, was I couldn't transfer over my custom Final Fantasy VII theme. That every time I fired up my PlayStation 4 Pro, and the Aerith theme song would play, and that's what I want back, because that first of all, that song's epic, and two, that Final Fantasy VII theme was pretty badass. So
same. I mean, for me, it was either my Persona 5 theme or my Tetris Effect theme. Both of them had really really good songs attached to those themes, and it's just the fact that I can't use them right now sucks. So
yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, Chrono, you need to push that up to the to the bosses up top, right? Let them know that
I'll talk to them. I'll schedule a conference call with them tomorrow. So
yeah, let them know the fans demand it. So, all right, I do want to talk about EA. So this is interesting. Electronic Arts has made an update to its dual entitlement program. So what they're doing is they're limiting free next gen upgrades of FIFA 22 and Madden 2022. Madden NFL 22 to players who purchased the special edition only. Now, they last year they gave the free upgrade, right?
Right.
This year they're not doing it. Now, the special edition, if you want the special edition, is going to cost you. It's going to be like $99 basically, right? And I think the FIFA one, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I think the FIFA one is digital only. The Ultimate Edition for FIFA, I think it's limited only to digital. And I think the Madden one, you can actually buy the physical copy of it for which is the MVP edition for $99.99 or $100, right? So, what do you guys think about this?
I'm not mad at it, man. This is
Oh, B, they're gonna come after you, man. They're gonna say you're not pro-consumer.
I don't care.
Go ahead, man.
This is something that someone who plays NBA 2K every single year and buys the Legendary Edition every single year. This doesn't really bother me at all. You know what I mean? Last year, cross-gen, like if you want the cross-gen version of NBA 2K, you had to buy the Legendary Edition. I was already buying that anyway, so me, it wasn't like a big deal. Wasn't anything that affected me. Like a lot of people are like, oh, well, I still have a PS4 or I still have an Xbox One, and I'm planning on getting the next-gen consoles, so I want to take advantage of those features. But it's like, at the end of the day, why do people think that we're going to continue to get free upgrades just because we're in a transitional period? Like, when was that ever a thing? I think they kind of did it because we were, basically coming out of a pandemic, and things were just wonky, and it was something that we never dealt with before. So publishers were kind of scared to, go either way. So a lot of them kind of, stood on the fence and want to see, what happened with all the other publishers that decided to charge $70 for the games. And guess what? NBA 2K, Legendary Edition, sold like crazy. The next gen version sold like crazy at $70. Sold more copies this last year than they did the year prior. So they've continued back-to-back years with increased sales. Well, when EA looks at that, what do you think they're going to do? Oh, okay, we'll take advantage of that too. Oh, why are we going to give these people free upgrades? For business at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, they're going to try to get as many coins out of people as they possibly can. This is just another way.
Yeah. It'd be also, just to kind of clarify, these like, if you owned an Xbox One, let's say, and you wanted an upgrade, without having to buy the $70 copy of on the Series X, then you'd want to buy this version because it's going to be cheaper for you, right?
Right.
Because
right.
if you, and I same thing. If you own a PlayStation 4, you buy Madden 22. You get you think it maybe a month or so you're going to upgrade to PS5, and then if you want the PS5 version, you're going to have to spend $70 on top of the $60 you pay. Now, I guess you could probably go in to your GameStop if that's an option for you to trade it in, and maybe that kind of takes the sting out a little bit. But ultimately, possibly going with the $100 edition may be cheaper if you have an old last gen console and anticipating getting an next gen and want that upgrade. But either way, it's going to be $70 on PS5 and Xbox Series X. So you don't have to pay $100 per se. If you have a PS5, you just pay the $70. But it did raise a lot of eyebrows, though. It certainly did, and I think to your point, they saw 2K do it. I know I saw some people on Twitter blame Sony immediately for this, which I thought was kind of funny. Which Sony wasn't. This isn't Sony doing. Like, I saw people say, "Oh, this is Sony's fault." No, this is something that Take-Two. I think, what'd you say, B? When you said Take-Two and who else? 2K.
Take-Two and everything that was under Take-Two and 2K branding, they all did the same thing.
Now,
Yeah.
out of curiosity, have they talked about what the differences, if any, are going to be between the PS4 and PS5? Or, I'm sorry, between last and next gen? Have they talked about that?
I don't.
No, I know that EA is using a new
That's
motion,
right.
motion
Yeah.
software.
Did you see Did you see the FIFA 22 trailer?
Yeah, FIFA looks amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
haven't played FIFA in a while, but I'm actually getting it this year.
Did you see that, B?
Yeah,
Like,
the new engine that they're using is incredible, and I can't wait to see what like NCAA looks like when it comes out in a couple of years, because they're doing with FIFA. If they can implement that NCAA, that game is going to be amazing.
do they bring back what was their basketball game? NBA Live.
Yeah, NBA Live is dead, but there's rumors that Fight Night could be coming back.
Oh, Fight Night would be great. Yeah, Fight Night would be awesome, man. Yeah.
I really wish that EA would just remember the days that they had fun. Like, I would love for them to do like an NBA Streets or again or one of their or NFL Streets, just one of their fun games, SSX, something. Just give me something, EA, that isn't just a cynical cash grab.
Kurt, I think those days are gone, man.
Yeah, those days are definitely gone. But if you notice EA's movements over the past 2 or 3 years, they're trying to turn things around over there. For a while they were like one of the worst companies. I mean, and all of the companies. So, they've definitely tried to turn things around. I think them kind of moving Vincent Pella into the role that he is, and you know, what they've done with DICE and kind of renaming some of their studios over there. You know, what they're doing with their sports line, like they're trying to turn things around, and I think in the next couple of years, like you know, they'll be kind of back in good graces with a lot of gamers. You know, they're bringing skate back, so I think in a few, you know, NCAA is coming back. So if like Fight Night came back, I think they gonna start turning it around in a major way, and people are gonna start putting EA up in their good graces pretty soon again.
Yeah, they just need to give me a proper Def Jam vendetta. That's what they need to do.
Yeah. I've been hoping for that as well, man. Def Jam kind of teased us like last year.
Yeah, right.
They still have not announced anything, so shall see.
Yeah, we shall see. Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned like EA kind of turned things around. They got a lot riding on some projects, especially with you know, they own BioWare. So I think we talked about that you know, a couple weeks ago. You know, where it's like, you know, a lot riding on the next Dragon Age and a lot riding on the next Mass Effect. So so we'll see, man. I'm not a big EA fan, just full disclosure. But so Chrono Man, so do you think this is kind of egregious, this pricing model?
Oh man, I don't play those kinds of games, and I'm trying to think of it in terms of, you know, I don't play sports games, but if I'm trying to think of it in terms of how would I feel if, you know, if it were a series that I enjoyed, you know, I know how I am as a gamer, and B, you said it right. You know, us gamers, we have a tendency, and we complain, but we'll also end up buying that collector's edition. And you know, again, and I talked about a little bit. It's we're at fault for that behavior, and basically showing companies like EA and 2K what they can get away with. But I just know that the type of person that I am, I would end up buying that Ultimate Edition. I can't fault them. You know, I get it completely. Do I think it's right? I don't know. But I just know that at the type of gamer that I am, even though I should know better, I'll buy that collector's edition. I'll buy that Ultimate Edition. And, you know, in the end, I'll have both versions available. And, you know, and I'm the type of person that they're looking for in terms of a consumer. So
you're part of the problem.
Yeah, basically. It's basically what it is. So
yeah, you know what's interesting is you bring that up, and I think B, you talked about like special editions earlier. You know, it's funny, like no one talks about, and I understand they're probably not, you know, and it's probably not an apples to apples type thing, you know. But you know, those collector's editions, man, I spent a good, like, I don't know, I spent like a good $200 on collector's editions before, right?
Yeah.
Or even $100 on like the you know, like the edition that has the what is it, the you know, like the steel case book and everything, or maybe has some
steel case book.
Yeah,
right. Like all the DLC or the season pass or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, B, how many times have we paid like $90 for those, right?
Yeah, a lot, man.
All for just the steel book and the soundtrack. That's that's what we do.
Let me tell you something. I am a sucker. I'm a sucker for steel case books.
Yeah, a good steel case is, you can go wrong with that, man.
I am not saying that I do the exact same thing, especially when it comes to like 4K discs. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I see you. I see you.
bunch of frauds out here, I see.
When you see that Persona 5 steel case.
Oh my god.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like, there's something special about it, man.
It is, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, so I mean, we're part of the problem then. Maybe we're contributing to these increased because look, you're right, B. There's a market for it, man. Like, there's people that are going to pay things for steel case books, those $200, special edition, boxes with statues in them and stuff. I mean, go ahead, B.
I was just agreeing, man. I
Oh.
bought the Titanfall Winter's Edition. That game, we didn't know Respawn for a can of paint. We knew that they worked on Call of Duty, but that was their first game. Kind of being on their own. The game looked amazing, man. So I felt like I just had to have the collector's edition. I spent like $300 on that.
Jeez, I hear that, man. I hear that.
Yeah, how much I spent.
Yeah, I want to get the super chat from our good buddy here, Worry Ward Gaming. What's up, Worry? $5 super chat says, somebody say Apple. Of course, Worry chimes in when he hears the word Apple. But I want to welcome our good friend here, Mr. Gaming Forte, who I just want to hug so much. Forte, what's up, man?
Forte.
I needed a hug, man. I just woke up like 30 minutes ago. I got my second COVID shot. They put me in a coma.
Oh shit!
Oh man,
you got knocked out, huh?
Man, I took that shot yesterday. I haven't had no issues. It's like I haven't been sick or had no headache, but as soon as I got that shot, about 4 hours after I had it, I just instantly felt drained. And all day today, I just been sleeping.
Jeez,
Just
I hear you,
on
man.
Just on some lazy stuff. So it's good to be here. But let's be for real. It's a bunch of frauds out here when it comes to this EA stuff. It's some frauds out here. Let's be for real. Y'all know this.
What do you mean?
How so? Explain to us, Forte.
No, because let's be for real. Like B, you said it perfectly. People, money is a different thing to different people. I know in the grand scheme, the cheaper version of the game, like especially for Madden and all these sports games, the cheaper version always sells more. But guess what sells most the first day that these things release? Those higher end editions of all these games. Most people, I have more pre-orders. Matter of fact, my district, I believe, has more pre-orders on the higher end versions of Madden. 2K just got announced today, so I wouldn't be surprised. Like in the next week, I have more pre-orders of that Legendary Edition than anything else.
Real quick,
go ahead.
Somebody live chat says Forte woke up grumpy. But go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I did wake up grumpy. Always wake up. I haven't eaten my Snickers bar yet.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. Go ahead, Forte.
Yeah, but no, but people spend money on those things because guess what? It's a value to them. And people that sit there and say that, it goes back, it's just like the whole $70 thing. Like, I never told, like I said, about $70. I never said I wouldn't spend $70 on a game. I just said I wasn't spending $70 on certain games because it wasn't a benefit to me. But guess what? As soon as they announced the Ultimate Edition of Battlefield of 2042, guess who paid the full price for that game day one? I did. I spent $109 for that version of the game because I want everything for that game because I trust in DICE when it comes to a Battlefield game. Not so much Star Wars games to the most part, but for Battlefield, I love them, especially when we go Modern Warfare. I love that all the way to death. I bought I bought the Titanfall Collector's Edition, knew nothing about it, and I still paid for it. I even bought the helmet that they sold separately. I bought that too. Because it was just things that I, wanted with the game and stuff. And that's kind of the same thing that people got to kind of realize when it comes to what these publishers are doing. Instead of selling you extra content, they're basically saying, okay, we're going to go out of our way. Well, I ain't going to say go out of your way. We're going to go out and say we're going to reward our biggest fans. The ones that we know are the ones that go out, spend the money day one. We're going to give them the benefit of having both versions of the game because those are our diehard fans. They're the ones that no matter what spend $100 on our game every year, if not more, because of the way that these games are set up. People like B, people like me, people just in those type of circles and stuff. And like for a lot of these people, they're like, okay, $100, I was going to do that anyway. And that's probably the majority of the people that buy these games day one. Now, does it suck to sit here and hear them say like, oh, we're going to lock it behind, the higher end version, the ultimate version of the game? Yeah, it sucks to hear it. But guess what? If you're a person that is looking to get a next gen console and you're going to get one before the next version comes out, just spend the extra money now and get both versions of the game, so you are basically taken care of when all that stuff basically hits the fan. Or if you're smart, you just get the version that you want day one, and when Christmas comes around, you get another version, because guess what? Those next gen versions are going to be half price. Because
or you go see Forte and go trade it in.
Right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. People don't realize that. Like like NBA, Madden, like dog, they get over on you so tough because they know people are going to spend that money up front. But guess what, B? Has there been a year when NBA has released that by Thanksgiving, that game wasn't for $39.99 or $29.99?
Oh, that happens every year, man.
Every year. So, and then guess what? The Ultimate Edition drops in price too. So guess what?
Yeah.
If you go out and spend that's $60 for your regular version of the game up front, and then say, you know what, I don't want to spend $100. Guess what? By Christmas, you'll be able to, trade in that old one and get that higher end version for a lot cheaper price. You probably only pay half the price for it. So there's ways to game the system. I'm not trying to say that you should have to, that's something you should have to do in order to get ahead of these developers and these publishers. But these publishers are out to make money, and your job is out to save as much money as possible. So if you're not willing to go out and save as much money as possible, then, I mean, you really can't be mad when they're basically telling you that we're going to give you this if you do that. That's their prerogative. That's their point. I never will tell a person that they should have to buy something in order to get something. But if it's a benefit to you and you feel like you are going to get a next gen console within the next 6 months to a year, then you should get the version that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. Don't cry because you can't, and I understand if you can't afford it, that's two different things. But most of these people that I see commenting on this are people that got unlimited funds for this, what it seems like. They're always talking about the things that they got, all the games they be buying. But then you crying about the fact that they're charging you $30 to give you two versions of a game. So that's where I think the fraud mentality comes out. Most of these people just complain just to complain. That's why I kind of kept my mouth shut about this whole situation, because I know inherently I'm part of the problem, because I don't mind going out and spending money on stuff that I feel like is of value to me. But for most people, if it's something that they don't like, or is a game or a franchise that doesn't speak to them, they feel like it's a wrong and a sin to basically say, oh, they're wrong for doing this. They're wrong for doing that. And yeah, EA has made their bed and they have to lie in that, but it still doesn't change the fact that they are a business and they have a service in place that people by the millions love. And it's the same thing for 2K. And guess what? Grand Theft Auto's been doing it for 11 years. They give you that you basically are buying DLC every time you buy a copy of the game. You don't think they getting over on you? Absolutely. So it's been happening in different mediums for 10 to 20 plus years.
Yeah, that's a great point, Forte. I love. By the way, this portion of Fortenomics has been brought to you by Circle K, your local convenience store. Go get hot dogs and shit there. No, Forte.
Oh, but the funny thing is. You know, the funny thing, I'm going to tell you what the funny thing is. 2K, speaking of 2K, because they announced their thing today, I just saw it like 30 minutes ago. B, you know that there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to buy all three versions of that game at $100.
What?
I know.
They have three different covers for that game. All $100 if you want the higher end version. And I think people are going to be sleeping on that WNBA too, that 25th anniversary one. People are going to be getting that just because it's a special thing. And that's another thing people don't realize. These athletes that they put on the cover of these games, it's a reason they picked these athletes to do it, because, like people try to say that they took advantage of Kobe Bryant and the death of Kobe Bryant the year that he was on the cover. And, it is what it is. I understand how people feel about that. But guess what? He was on the cover and people were buying that game. People bought both versions of the game just so they could have Kobe Bryant on the cover of the game. Had nothing to do with it being the next gen version. It was just the fact that Kobe was on the version of the game and they love Kobe Bryant. And there's going to be a bunch of people that are going to be going out buying all three versions of these cases. I remember back in 2015, I believe it was 2015, the first time that they had the multi-year cover where they had James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Steph Curry was on the cover that year. And people literally were going out of their way to get all 3 versions of the game because it was random. So they know what they doing, bro. Trust me. And people sit out here and cap about this situation, but I'm like, yo, but it's the same people that will go out of their way to make sure that they collect every little thing, because in the end, gaming is about having fun, but it's also about collecting the things that you like. And I think people do not really think about that.
It's a great point, Forte. I mean, you know, like these companies do these things because clearly there's a market for it, right? You know, I don't think these special editions, if you will, are new, right? These deluxe editions, limited editions. I mean, you know, I understand, you know, somebody saying, hey, I'd like a free upgrade from my current copy that I have to the next generation copy, because they did do that last year, right? Like EA did do that.
They did.
You know, and so, you know, it's kind of a little bit of a punch in the gut, I think, for some people. I could see that.
You want to know? Yeah,
ahead,
you want to know
man.
the funny thing though? You want to know the funny thing about that, Brad? Because you know your boy on fire today. He slept all day today, so he just got a bunch of stuff going through his head. This is the thing that people got to kind of separate from this whole free upgrade thing. You can't expect everybody to do what Microsoft is doing. You can't expect that. You can't expect all of these developers and publishers to come out with their game and say, hey, we're going to do the right thing by you. And if you buy the current gen version, we're going to give you the next gen version when it's ready. You can't count on that, because that's a decision that Microsoft made when it comes to their first party. They didn't say third. And I remember when Phil Spencer said that the first time, a lot of people misconstrued that situation by saying that, oh, all games that are on Xbox are going to be, you know, all the next gen versions are going to be free. And that was never what the conversation was. It was basically him speaking for first party Microsoft, and all the games you got from them, that stuff was going to be free. So I feel like it's kind of unfair to kind of hold other parties to the expectations that Microsoft set for themselves. Is it a consumer friendly move? Absolutely. Is it going to over time probably stand out and make people make a decision on what platform they might want to pick when it comes to buying their games before they go to the next generation? It definitely could help in Microsoft's favor, because they are being very front facing consumerism with that. But we can't be upset that other publishers don't want to go in the same route that Microsoft's going, because they are not Microsoft.
That's well said, Forte. That's a great point, man. And I think that's the mindset some people have. Go ahead, B.
Well, I mean, see all these companies make billions of dollars every year. Like Forte said, every company isn't Microsoft. You know, so at the end of the day, they're still looking at that bottom line. And, you know, I mean, they still have teams working on these next gen features and stuff that will be included in the upgrade. So they got to recoup some of that money back. And regardless of how many microtransactions or whatever the case may be that's going on in their games, I still feel like, hey, we need to recoup some of that money back. And this will continue to be a trend. You know what I mean? That you will see less and less of these publishers, you know, trying to stay at that $60 mark or give you free upgrades. Because at the end of the day, like, these tools and things that they're using to make these games as great as they are, all that stuff costs money, man.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, we're talking about the Ghost of Tsushima thing and the haptic feedbacks. That stuff costs time, money, resources, right? You have to QA test that stuff. It's not cheap. It's not free. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you know.
I just always feel, and I know some people are probably going to say, well, people always say that, well, people have been complaining about, especially games like Ghost of Tsushima, where it comes to the upgraded stuff. Like, my argument with that one, I always feel like when it comes to the actual performance of the game, that should be a free upgrade no matter where the hell you go. It should always be free, because I already paid for the system. I paid for the system inherently to give me a better experience of the games I'm playing. But if you want to lock certain features like HD rumble or haptic feedback or, you know, stuff like that behind the next gen upgrade, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But don't lock performance.
You get performance. You get the performance on PS5 right now for Ghost of Tsushima free.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But, you know, a lot of people are going to sit there and say, you know, based off what I just said, they're going to say, well, you always talked about performance and stuff and how that should be free. And yeah, that's the one thing that should be free no matter what. No matter what version of a game you buy, whenever they have a performance upgrade where you get better resolution and better frame rates, that should always be free because you basically paid for that when you got your new system. That is the purpose of buying a new system, to get better performance. Now, if they want to lock other features behind that in order for you to get that stuff, like they did with Ghost of Tsushima and they're doing with like Death Stranding and stuff, that's 100% fine. I don't have a problem with that because
Forte,
that's
you
developer.
Forte, you have a stalker in the live chat that I'm gonna mute here.
Oh, who is it?
I'm not gonna mention his name.
Oh, never mind. Okay, fine. Mute him. But no, that's all I gotta say. You know, I just think people.
I just removed him. So.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Well, he'll probably be on DPS tomorrow.
he was like saying some like dumb stuff and like, you know, just ridiculous. Like, yeah, go ahead, man.
No. That's all I had to really say. It's just, you know, I love Microsoft. I love gaming in general, but I'm never going to tell people that I'm never going to tell people that they should spend their money on one thing or another. That's kind of the decision you got to make for yourself. But you just can't be mad when these companies are out here trying to make a bottom line that inherently helps make them more money. Because if you were in the same position and you had the opportunity to make more money, you would do it too.
And I also think a lot of people are upset because they felt like, well, I spent money on Ghost of Tsushima or Death Stranding, and you know, I should be able to get the upgrade at a lower price or whatever. It's the same thing when we buy consoles. You know what I mean? The early adopters always the brunt, you know, the big hit. You know, we're out there first day. You know, we buy these consoles at full price. You know, a year later, 2 years later, you know, there's going to be some sort of deal where, you know, you're getting some free games or whatever the case may be in a bundle. You know, so when you're an early adopter, you take that hit, and you know, later on down the line, with these director's cuts, you know, they're getting all the content for $70. It's basically just $10 more than what we paid initially. So it's just one of those things that kind of happens. You know, you got to take it on the chin and move on. Either you're gonna, you know, pay for the upgrade, or, you know, you're not gonna get it.
Yeah, that's I mean, look, it's funny. Like Chrono said, that, you know, he's old like me. You know, remember, you know, those, you talk about those bundles, B. Remember, you go out and buy like, I remember I got my Sega Genesis. I think it came with Altered Beast, right?
Yeah.
Had I waited 2 years, I would have got like 2 additional games with like a bundle, right? And it was cheaper. I mean, it happens, unfortunately. You know, it just, FOMO is real, man.
Of course,
yeah,
of course.
FOMO is way too strong, especially especially as a gamer and a collector. Man, that FOMO, like something tangentially, like Shout Factory just announced the 4K versions of the Halloween 1 through 5. Do I need them? I have the Halloween box set. I don't technically need them, but it's 4K, and I'm not saying that I didn't buy them. I'm just saying that it FOMO is a thing. So.
Oh, it's definitely a thing.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, even with like, you know, DVD upgrades, you want 4K, you got to pay for that. You know?
Oh God, yeah. I just upgraded my Scott Pilgrim to 4K. So.
Jeez, man. You Chrono, you're part of the problem, man.
No, definitely. But hey, and this ties back. I bought the Steelbook version, so it's all good. So.
Yeah, like if you get if you subscribe to Netflix, you got to get you want 4K, you got to pay extra for that.
That is true. That is true.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
just
if I'm
like
already,
when, you know, subscribe to Hulu. If you don't want the commercials, guess what? Pay extra.
yeah, and you know, if
well, you got to think about it. Friday in 2 days, Nintendo gonna come out with like their 15th remaster of a game, and it's gonna probably sell upwards of 10 million plus.
you know what?
You see how everybody gave it like a 9.5?
Yes, Forte,
Exactly.
the reviews. Oh my God.
I know. And guess what? And that's an old game that people are gonna be paying full price money for.
Forte,
and it won't drop in price anytime soon.
In no
5
time
years
soon.
later, and it's still gonna be the same damn price.
Yep.
Yeah. I've seen some of the reviews saying that the improvements in this game make it a must-play adventure, and I'm like, No, I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
I do want to hear that.
No,
listen.
I don't. Forte, I don't want to hear that, man,
trust.
because I just, it's. I was at GameSpot the other day. I bought Scarlet Nexus. The guy's like, you want to pre-order, Zelda Skyward Sword? I was like, no. I'm hoping. No, I don't want to do it. And now it's like the reviews are out. I know what's going to happen. If I don't go on Friday and get it, it's going to be sold out, right, Forte?
It is, because my store only had like 16 extra copies to pre-order.
Oh man, I gotta call my thing tomorrow. My GameSpot. Jeez, man.
Listen, man. I tried to tell y'all, but y'all was getting all on this Nintendo wagon, like, oh man, Nintendo don't care. Nintendo just milking us for money. I'm like, yeah, but Nintendo keeps giving us good games to play. That's all that matters.
And what's do we know what the Metacritic for that game is, by the way? Let me look this up.
I haven't looked at it today.
Hey, Slow-Mo, Forte, you want to get that super chat from our good buddy, Mr. Slow-Mo Backslap? Might look this up.
What's Slow-Mo talking about? Let's see. Okay, $5 super chat to the homie Slow-Mo Backslap. Sorry I missed the show, fellas, but I wanted to stop in and remind everyone it's nearly a full year Enrique ducking B money in 2K. That is all. Good night. Shout out to you, homeboy. Hey, we miss you, brother, man. I know having the show a little earlier today kind of just made it weird for everybody to be on, but appreciate you for the shout out, brother. And they already made a truce that they're going to play when 2022 comes out, but let's see if that actually happens during the year of 2022.
We'll see. Thank you for that. Thank you for that super chat, Slow-Mo. We miss you, man. It looks like it's at it's actually sitting at an 82 Metacritic, so not completely, knocking it out of the park per se. I don't see any big. I don't see any of the big gaming sites have reviewed it yet. I don't think. Let's see here. Yeah, I don't see like IGN or. Wow, GameSpot gave it a 70. Wow. Look at that. All right, Slow-Mo, how many copies do you guys have left at your store?
My store had 16 extra.
16, okay. Yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I'll wait. We'll see. Maybe I'll wait. Maybe the FOMO's not too bad. So, anyhow, I do want to get to some Xbox Series X related news. Phil Spencer, good old Phil, was actually part of the more recent Kind of Funny Gamescast, and he talked about I can't even talk today. He spoke about the some of the potential maybe upgrades to the Xbox Series X. And one of the things that he talked about, he actually complimented the DualSense, Sony's DualSense controller for the PlayStation 5, and suggested that that might actually inspire Microsoft to add features to its own controller, presumably for the Xbox Series X and S controllers. Now, look, if Microsoft does this, I'd be super happy, because if you haven't experienced haptic feedback, and look, I was actually one of those naysayers in the beginning, like, whatever, this shit's like Rumble. You know, it's funny, B, I think you remember, like, was it you that when Nintendo incorporated, I think, haptic with the Switch, you said they were kind of setting the standard? Nintendo was?
You were. Yep, I did say that.
And here we are, like, a couple years after the Nintendo Switch, and lo and behold, Sony adapts haptic feedback with the DualSense. And
Right.
Microsoft, didn't incorporate those features with their, even though they did, there was a slight, I think, there were some slight improvements, I think, to I think it's already a really well-designed controller. I think Microsoft, after the behemoth of the Duke back in the OG Xbox, when they redesigned it to the controller S, I think they've really been firing on all cylinders in terms of the design of the control for the Xbox since then. And I just kind of have improved on the design. I think even with the Series X, even with those slight improvements, I feel like even the control in the Series, at least in my opinion, I think feels a little bit better in the hands than the Xbox One. But Phil thinks that that's probably more likely to happen, them incorporating something like that, than let's say doing like VR for for Xbox Series X. So let me ask you, I'm going to ask our esteemed guest this evening, Chrono, do you think that this is something that Microsoft should incorporate in their, if they do like a revision of the Xbox XS controllers?
Yeah, I would love for them to do it, but at the same time, are the Xbox gamers the type that would necessarily need or appreciate it? That's my biggest thing. Like Xbox gamers do play games, different styles of games, more, especially more less story driven kind of stuff that the haptics can give you that more level of immersion. And I think maybe it's, traditional Rumble is more than enough. I'd be very interested, especially the folks that are in the chat, that are Xbox players. Really, would haptics be that much of a game changer for you in terms of your experience, or are you perfectly content with just standard Rumble? Any chance for me as a gamer, any chance to get more immersed, especially when you combine the speaker with the haptics to really get, like, especially for you, we were talking about Astro, when all of a sudden you're feeling the raindrops, on the controller, and you're hearing the raindrops through the controller. It sounds hyperbolic, but it was transformative in terms of the level of immersion. So I would love to see Xbox do it, but at the same time, I wonder if it's something that Xbox gamers would necessarily need or appreciate. So
that's a spicy take there, Chrono. Go ahead.
I think more than ever right now, especially with taking Bethesda on, that they really, Xbox gamers will really appreciate that. If you just think of Sea of Thieves, which is like probably their biggest social game that they have right now, if you could have it to where you could feel like the sway of the boat, the controller, that would be cool. Crazy. You know what I mean? Like, when you're playing like a Battlefield, as you're casting like magic or whatever, different sensations depending on what you're casting or whatever. That stuff would be pretty sweet. You have all of the Fallout games and Elder Scrolls coming. You have machine games with Wolfenstein, and we have Indiana Jones coming. So like there's a lot of stuff that they could really tap into and really have people immersed in some of the bigger games that they have coming.
Yeah, it's a loaded question, but I think for most people, well, what do you say most? For some people, it's not a big deal. I think Kronos is right. I think regular feedback, Rumble feedback is perfectly fine for those people. But there are, like B just said, for games like Bethesda, since you do have them under the umbrella, I do think that would definitely be a even more selling point for some of those games, especially like Sea of Thieves, where you say what the waves rocking the boat back and forth. I think that would be a really cool implementation of it. But I also think that it shouldn't be the standard across all their controllers. I think that should be the higher end controller, because they already have pretty much set up a tier for their controllers where they have their $60 and their $70 controllers, and it's basically just based on the colorways that they have them set for. So they already kind of set a dynamic when it comes to like how they treat just different versions of the controllers. So I think if they wanted to have some type of entry point like that, $74 for a controller that gave you all those functionalities, plus they still give you the different color options and stuff, that would be something I would be 100% in for. But I don't think they should force anybody to say if this is the only controller that would work on that system outside of the controllers they already have now. But I don't think they should go forward saying this is the only controller we're making going forward, and there's no way to get anything that's not that. Because let's be real, I do turn on the haptic feedback for PlayStation 5. But that's also because, like Colonel said, I'm a different type of gamer. I play a lot of shooters. And I don't play with that on. I turn it on for Call of Duty over there just to see what it was like. but it interferes with the way I like to play the game. So I just turn it off. It's like I don't even play with Rumble on Xbox. Like Rumble has not been on Xbox for me in probably 2 to 3 years. I forgot that I even knew what it was. And it's just mostly because it interferes with the way that I like to play the games, but that's due to the games that I play. So
remind me not to play multiplayer at Forte's house.
Yeah, you play multiplayer at my house, but that's another reason why my controllers don't break. I haven't had to replace my controllers because I don't have Rumble. One less thing to break on my controller because I got it turned off. But like I said, that's something that's different for everybody. It comes down to what you are playing the games for. I do play with it on Ratchet and Clank. I did play with it on Returnal when I played it. Everybody knows that Astrobot was one of the best implementations of that feature ever so far up to this day. And I think, for the people that enjoy that, that's going to be something that's good for them. But for the majority, especially Xbox gamers that are really heavily, mostly into multiplayer type games, I think it would kind of be a thing that to be like, oh, this is cool. But, there'll be something that a lot of them will kind of turn off. So I think Microsoft would be good if they gave you the option, but just not make it the standard across all their controllers.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I kind of would like this to be standard. Because I think if it is, then more developers will incorporate into games. Obviously, first party would, but I think other maybe third party games will start incorporating it for Xbox if Xbox had that feature set built in with all their controllers, right? Because you've seen if you played Call of Duty, I forget the last Call of Duty. Was it Cold War?
It was Cold War, yeah.
Yeah, it used the haptic feedback. What is it? I used the what is it called? With the
adaptive triggers?
Adaptive triggers. Thank you, Cronin. It used adaptive triggers very well in that game. Like there was a different feel and tension to different types of weapons. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, this is just different, right?
Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Ratchet and Clank. Yeah.
All fire roads.
Yeah, and so I think I disagree with you in one instance. I do think Xbox fans would appreciate it because I think like B Money said, like take a game like Sea of Thieves or even Bethesda, right? Like imagine like using like the haptic feedback or using the triggers to add a level of immersion with like Skyrim or new Elder Scrolls game, right? I think there's opportunity for them to do that, and I think that they have with these studio acquisitions, they have some talented developers now that can incorporate these feature sets and make some really cool immersive experiences that incorporate the controller. That look, I mean, I think you said it earlier, Chrono, like it's not hyperbolic, but and I thought when I heard the DualSense and the adaptive triggers, like, yeah, whatever, that stuff's, it sounds like, like a gimmick, right? But when I played Astrobot, I'm like, whoa, this thing's the real deal. And then when you play Returnal,
right.
Oh my God. Like,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, Returnal, like Housemarque did a phenomenal job incorporating the adaptive triggers, haptic feedback with that game. I mean, it's and I think Insomniac just took that to the next level with Ratchet and Clank. So yeah, I think it'd be something that Xbox fans would definitely appreciate. I think they would definitely go out and buy those controllers because Xbox fans like buying controllers. I'm just joking. That was low hanging fruit.
What's the difference is what games do you like to play on your Xbox, though, Enrique?
What games do I like to play? Man, I haven't played anything on my Xbox in a while. So.
I was saying, but if you do, but I was saying when you do play, like, what's the next thing that's going to bring you to your Xbox?
I don't know, man. It depends what's on Game Pass. I mean, and if outside of that, it'd probably be Halo. Absolutely, Halo Infinite for sure.
Well, that was the answer right there. You know,
but I would like
the games that drive people to, and it is not saying it wouldn't be a good feature because I think more features is better than no features. That's definitely always going to be the case. But I just see a lot of people it being like this thing that say, "Oh, that's cool," and then it gets annoying. In some people's minds, it gets annoying, and the alt fire and having to pull down extra hard on it and stuff, and people just be like, "Oh yeah, I can just turn this off." So I just think at a certain point, it's going to be very beneficial in some games, but then for the majority of the games, like you said, all games aren't going to really take advantage of it in that way. A lot of people are just going to be like, "Okay, well, it's just another feature that is another feature."
Yeah, and it probably wouldn't be a popular feature in Halo Infinite, but
Heck, no, it wouldn't be.
But I
It'll
do,
be turned off in Halo Infinite.
But I do think if it wasn't turned off, Slow-Mo or Forte, I think that would add a level of immersion, a different twist to Halo, and talk about I think that skill level you would need to figure out how much pressure to put on a trigger. I think that certainly adds to a different dynamic of the game, man. I don't know. I think that might be cool, man.
It would be cool for the people. It'd be cool for single player, but as soon as you go into the multiplayer, you'd be like,
I think
"Look,
it'd be great
you
for
can turn this
multiplayer.
off." Yeah, single player. I always thought that is a great feature for games on single player. Any game that's a single player game, it would be a good feature to have. It just comes down to Xbox is a predominant. It's kind of hyperbolic because PlayStation has more systems out there, so you would say more people play on multiplayer on PlayStation, which they probably do. I just think multiplayer on Xbox has still always been the major focus, and that's what most of the people gravitate to on Xbox, where PlayStation fans gravitate a lot more to single player games and experiences like you said, Returnal and Ratchet and Clank and stuff like that, where the DualSense features of the haptic feedback will actually be more realized, because that's the part of the game that is the most important part of the game. When it comes to Xbox, the most important part of the game most of the time is the multiplayer, and the multiplayer it's not saying it won't benefit, but people won't appreciate the benefit because of what it actually does to the game, and people being competitive and stuff like that.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick. I just saw a Subway commercial, and they have brand new sandwiches. And Steph Curry, by the way, is pitching these sandwiches, right? New steak and cheese, new California something, new turkey something, right? And then it says, with secret seasoning. I got to be honest with you. I've seen the meats at Subway. I don't want anything secret seasoning from Subway. You know what I mean? Have you seen the meats? You go there. You ever look at the meats? They got a blue tint. Now they got secret seasoning. Nope, that's a pass for me, sir. Nope. I'm sorry. Go ahead, B, or I forget who was it you, Chrono, or B? I don't. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, do you, and it sort of ties into the idea of the controller. There's a certain feature set that was included with the PS5 controller, but also the way the architecture of the PS5 in and of itself. Do you think that the lack of different features on a controller has sort of caused Microsoft to creatively become stagnant? Had it not been for the recent acquisitions that they have done, it just feels like Microsoft has just been doing the same thing over and over again, instead of, someone in the comments had made a comment about, imagine a haptic, the gun with the chainsaw. Imagine the haptics on that would have been amazing. And it just, I just wonder if, something as simple as more features on a controller would be enough to bring life back to, Microsoft Studios proper. Not necessarily the acquisitions, but just, the guys in charge of making their big tentpole franchises. I don't know, just thinking out loud.
That's an interesting point. B, do you want to tackle that, man?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Oh, did you hear what Chrono said?
I was just talking to my son.
Oh. Chrono, you were saying, so I guess Chrono was saying that maybe not having the adaptive triggers or haptic feedback on the Xbox controller, has that made maybe Xbox stagnant in terms of creativity?
I wouldn't say it
not
was
necessarily
direct.
just Yeah, not necessarily just the haptics, but just the different feature sets, like the speaker on the controller, the accelerometer, so that kind of just different things that are built into the PlayStation. Do you think that the lack of it has caused a stagnation in Xbox?
I think what causes the stagnation in Xbox is people buy new consoles without new games.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
We've continued to buy actually a slightly upgraded console for many years about this past generation. So it's like, okay, well, Xbox Series X came out. This came out. Everybody run to get those, and in a couple years, like they already told us that they're developing the next console. The next console comes out, well, everybody will go out and get that console. It's Microsoft just knows that as long as it's more powerful, at this point, people are just gonna upgrade to the next thing. It's just like someone mentioned earlier, Apple. It's like it's the iPhone syndrome. You know what I mean? Like if you have one, okay, well the next one's coming out this fall, so go ahead and get ready to trade in your old one and just get the new one when there's only slightly better benefits to it, and everybody goes and gets the next iPhone, and it's a repeated thing that happens every time a new one comes out. And it's kind of been the same thing for Microsoft, where it's like, all right, well, we didn't have a lot of content. We kind of put out everything that we had, but we've got newer consoles. They're slightly more powerful, and that consumer base is going to continue to support that because at the end of the day, that's what they want.
Yeah, B, that's a spicy take, man. Because
it's true.
I mean, there's some truth to that. I mean, like, what's the motivation?
Like,
go ahead, man.
Yeah, what we say, we know the struggles of everything that Microsoft went through during the Xbox One generation. Even through that, like they still were releasing games. None of those games were like the next big thing. None of those games were games that anybody talked about for more than a week or a couple of weeks. The longest standing game that they've come out with over the past few years that we keep talking about is Sea of Thieves. That was a hit. That is a hit because it's a social hit, and people stream it on Twitch and all the streaming services, and people enjoy watching that content. For a lot of people, that's not what we were looking for. That wasn't the next Gears. That wasn't the next Halo. That wasn't, the next big thing that most people were looking for. So you look at, just the patterns of Microsoft, it's like they have Sea of Thieves, they have, Minecraft, they have these big social games that will do great. But when it came to making everything else, it's like, okay, well, what do you have to offer me? And they had was your old game's better.
Yeah, I mean, dude, B, I can't say I disagree with you, man. And I know it's something that Eric's kind of talked quite a bit about, with the upgraded. And I know we talked about this. This was a conversation with us prior to the release of the Series X and DM, remember? Where it was like, are we going to buy this console? Because there's nothing coming out for it right away, right? Other than playing what we have better, right? Which we did with the, with the Xbox One X. Yeah. Now FOMO is what, FOMO, my kids wanting the Series X is why I got mine, but still, I mean, like, even then, to your point, like, I mean, and this isn't like meant to be console wars, but I mean, yes, the games are coming, we know that, but as of today, I mean, there hasn't been anything really that I played that's been like, wow, this is it. This is why you need to own a Series X right now, right? I just haven't seen that yet. It doesn't mean that it's not coming. It's just not here yet, right? Yeah, so that's. I mean, look, it's spicy. I'm sure somebody in the live chat's going to get upset, but it is what it is. I want to get the super chat from. Go ahead, man.
The thing is that they are going to break out of that. Like once these acquisitions start hitting their stride, and we saw what. Why can't I think of their name? Studio that makes Gears. Can't think of.
You're talking about Coalition.
Coalition. So we saw their screenshot of them working on Unreal Engine 5. Like, that looks amazing. I mean, so like once they hit their stride and all the games are coming out, like you can, steer this conversation in a different way. But until that happens, what can we really, hold our hat on? And it's what, at the end of the day, a lot of consumers, yes, it's great that Microsoft has been super consumer friendly. We have Game Pass. They have, they showed us a roadmap. There's a lot of great games coming to the service, every month. At the end of the day, like, if you are a gamer who's been on or, appreciates big, AAA, big budget titles, it's just not what they've provided over the last generation. So, you kind of look at them a little sideways. That's all.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. That's a great point, B. Want to grab the super chat from Game Over Brian with the $5 super chat. Says, I'm not a tech guy. From what I understand, that label on NVMe acts as heatsink, and NVMe with heatsink will fit inside PS5 expansion bay. I think he's making a comment on what we discussed earlier in the show. So,
no, the label that's on the NVMe is not it's not the heatsink.
Okay, I wasn't sure what he was saying. I'm glad you clarified that, B. I was like, well. So, God, I just lost my train of thought because I was thinking of that damn Subway commercial and that secret, whatever it's called, secret seasoning. That just didn't even sound right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to derail the show, but I think like Subway's nasty. My 11-year-old loves going there, and I keep telling him to stop. I don't know why. He likes it. I'm like, dude, that shit's nasty. Don't eat it. But he likes to go, so I don't know. B, do your boys like to go to Subway?
No, they like Chipotle.
See, that's what I'm talking about, Chipotle. So look,
Jersey Mike's, baby.
Oh, Jersey Mike's is phenomenal. Jersey Mike's. Hey, do you get it Mike's way, Forte?
I sure do.
That's the way to do it, man. I have to get it Mike's way. So, I wonder if we get Jersey Mike's to sponsor BRAP. That'd be amazing.
Be like I am athlete and announce whatever sub you're having for that day in the middle of the show.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Yeah, if you're listening, Jersey Mike's, please sponsor BRAP. But anyhow, well, look, gentlemen, it is almost 9:00. BRAP has to get to bed so he can get up early at 4:45 in the morning for a conference call, which I'm not excited about. And but I do want to say a big shout out to everyone in the live chat, by the way, who hung out with us this evening. Really appreciate it. If you haven't done so, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you're alerted when we go live. Also want to give a thank you to our guest this evening, Chrono. Hey man, it's always great to have you on. It's just, look, always appreciate your insight, man, and just make sure that you push this message up to the folks up at the top that we want a big showing in August.
No problem. I'll schedule that conference call soon. So I got you. and on top of that, I'll probably let them know Legend of the Dragoon and SOCOM, because that's what everyone keeps telling me that they, that's the games that they want next. So, I'll see what I can do. Yeah.
If you want to go ahead and get those guys on from Gorilla on the line, man, and just let them know if they could just put together SOCOM for me, I would greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, SOCOM would be greatly appreciated. It's been long overdue. We need a good game. We need a good SOCOM game. Just give us SOCOM. Give the fans what they want. SOCOM.
Yeah. Just SOCOM. Yeah.
Before we get out of here, though, I gotta ask Chrono this. So, what do you think about this direction where, like, literally every partnership that they've talked about or have announced, seems that most of them are multiplayer game?
It's anything specifically you're talking about, or?
Yeah, so like all these partnerships that they've signed over the last year or whatever, Firewatch, Firewalk, New Haven Studios, like all of those studios seem to be working on multiplayer games.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think that is?
You know what, we as a company, PlayStation has very much we know we can make single player experiences. We know that we're, definitely the place to go for if you want that. But it's true. And we have not really had a killer multiplayer experience. Microsoft easily can do it. They basically fart out a Halo and they've made millions. It's been a long time since PlayStation has done that. And I think, if they can apply the same quality control that we do for our single player experiences, I think that we can hopefully the audience will be there for a multiplayer experience, and this will give that opportunity. So,
and if no one has noticed, PlayStation has also allowed early access games on their console, which that was not something that they have done before, which I think is very interesting.
Man. Yeah, that's a great point, B. So B, it almost sounds like I think what you're kind of hinting at here is that they're doing some things that are kind of under the radar a little bit that people should be taking notice of, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great point, B. That really is. I even think about it. I mean, I know you mentioned the early access thing, but the other stuff you just mentioned, I didn't even really think about until you just brought it up. But no, you're right. You're right. They're doing things that are kind of flying under the radar that it seems like most people aren't really talking about. So, it's a great point, B. So Chrono, man, let everyone know where they can find you too.
Hey, if you guys are hanging out on Twitter, you can find me there, Chrono KRONO 0666. I'd love to talk crap with you guys. So, movies, video games, comics, anything. So
awesome, man. Chrono, again, thank you, man. It's a pleasure having you on. And we got my man Gaming Forte. Always a pleasure. You woke up grumpy. That's okay, man. Let everyone know they can find you, man. You have the right to be grumpy, man. You got the second dose of your vaccine shot, and you have the right to be grumpy, man. But let everyone know they can find you.
Yeah, I think I'm in trouble. I got to go apologize to my wife. She just came in the house and I kind of snapped at her.
Oh man, you're really grumpy.
I gotta go upstairs and apologize. She came in the house and was like, "Hey, this and this and this," and I was like, "What? Why?" I was like, "Tisha, leave me alone." And I was like, "Oh Lord." I said, "Let me go apologize to my wife." But yeah,
Bob and weave. Bob and weave. Forte.
Bob and weave. Happy wife, happy life. Gaming Forte everywhere: YouTube, Twitter, Xbox Live, PlayStation, DPS podcast tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Me and Slomo will be joined by Optimus Code and Leviathan Gamer. We'll be going over a lot of Halo stuff, the direction of certain games that we love, like Destiny and PvP, and some other stuff that and Phil Spencer's comments and stuff he talked about on Kind of Funny. So come check us out. Be a great show, and hope to see you guys all there.
Yeah, that's actually gonna be a great one with and it's always a good show. By the way, you and Slomo always have a great show, but that's gonna be really, really great with Leviathan Gamer. He's gonna give you guys a lot of insight into game development, things like that as well. And then we all know Optimus Code. So I got
to ask Optimus Code on how he feels about getting pretty much flamed by oh no, it's Alex today in the video. So I got to ask him about that tomorrow. If you haven't seen it already.
Yeah, all right. So definitely check out DPS tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then my man B Money 101. B, man, always a pleasure, man. Let everyone know they can find you.
Hey guys, can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. I'll see you guys on Splitgate this week. So if you're playing, just hit me up.
Oh yeah, I need to get on Splitgate, by the way. I might do that tomorrow night, as a matter of fact.
How does it feel to you, B Money? How does it feel? How does the game feel?
It feels very Halo-ish.
Okay. Better than Halo?
Wish it was a little faster, but the gunplay feels like Halo. It kind of puts me in that place, so I'm happy with it.
Does it feel better than Halo though when it comes to the gunplay?
I wouldn't say it feels better.
Okay. Yeah, that's all you had to say. You ain't got to go no further. Okay.
We got a topic for next week's show right now, by the way. We're going to talk about this, I think, with Slow-Mo. So
yeah, we got to pull him out. We got to pull him back. Sometimes I feel like he's going to the dark side a little too far.
Sometimes he leads a little bit too, too funny. Yeah, I have to play that game this week as well. But no, B, always a pleasure, man. Appreciate it as always. And a big shout out to Slow-Mo Backslap, who could be here this evening, and our man Eric Jackson as well. So I'll probably do a BRAP rant this weekend. Probably be Saturday. Probably won't be after I had a couple cold ones, like Forte saw me on Saturday. Thanks for calling that out, by the way, Forte.
I was joking, but I was like, yeah, if it happened, it definitely happened today.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, everyone again, thank you so much, everyone on the panel, and everyone in the live chat. Really appreciate each and every one of you showing up this evening to hang out with us and talk video games. On that note, we are out. Remember, check out DPS tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. On that note, we are out. Everyone have a great rest of the week, and I'll probably be doing a BRAP rant this weekend. So, peace.